Well, it's July 4th, 2016. I figured I'd take the opportunity to pull out some of my carbine collection. These are U.S. carbines, caliber 30 M1. And these were produced between 1941 and 1945. None of these were made at U.S. arsenals. They were all made by either Winchester or one of the 9 subcontractors working under Winchester. And they were used during World War II in all theaters of the war, in Korea, in Vietnam, and in the hands of some of our allies. They soldiered on for many years after that. In fact, there may be places in the world these are still in use today. 15-round detachable box magazine, semi-automatic of course, gas-operated semi-auto, and they were the only U.S. military surplus rifle of World War II that did not use corrosive ammunition. Ammunition for the M1 carbine was all non-corrosive. Now, some of our allies may have produced corrosive ammunition, I don't know. It's possible, but most of these, you can usually find them with nice bores because of the fact that they were only shot with non-corrosive. The only time you have to worry is the crown. Sometimes cleaning rod wear can pretty much mess that up, but these rifles don't have that particular problem. And like I said, they're all originals. I don't collect reproductions of U.S. military weapons. I don't go out of my way to look for them anyway. And in the 1990s, when I was purchasing these, the influx from coming back in from South Korea especially had knocked the price down considerably, so I was able to pick up things like this DCM one here, which is not an import, fairly cheaply at that time. Today, forget it. You really can't touch them for under $1,000 these days, I think. I don't know. Now, this is the M1A1 carbine. All of the originals were made by Inland. However, after the war, this paratrooper stock could be found on any carbine because they had perfect interchangeability. Parts of one carbine from, say, Rockola will fit, parts from Inland, doesn't make a difference. And the government didn't care who originally made the original. This is an original one. I picked this up from someone who owed me some money a number of years ago. Don't know where he got it from, but you don't see them too often these days. And over here, we have the original War Baby. As you can see, it has the flat bolt. The M2 bolt was round. It's got the flip sight. Whoops. No bayonet lug. No potbelly stock of the M2. It has a buttstock pouch that holds 2 15-round magazines. Original World War II sling, dated 1943 on there. And that's what they looked like when they were first produced, just like that. However, by the end of World War II, they had come out with the upgrades. This one is upgraded with the bayonet mount there. You can see it's just really an extension of the front band. And this does not have a potbelly stock, but it does have the click sight. That's the other upgrade made late in the war. They actually sent kits out into the field to upgrade these. This is not made into an M2, however, it does have the M2 bolt. That is not indicating that this is a full auto weapon. It just means that the bolt was intended for the M2. And it's just an upgrade. Now later on, they started to look more like this. This has the heavier potbelly stock here. M2 bolt, click sight, bayonet. This is the bayonet. This is the M4 bayonet. It's an original made by, who made this one? Imperial made this one. Very simple upgrade. It just clicked on the front like that and you had a bayonet on there. Now, I don't know how useful that is on the weapon. I've never met a GI who claimed to have ever used the bayonet on his M1 carbine, but I'm told that the bayonets were very useful as tools for doing everything from opening CRAT cans and, you know, just normal knife things, because they're a nice little normal blade on there. Nice leather handle too, easy to use. And I don't think there's ever been a more popular carbine, you know, weapon in U.S. military history. Yeah, I mean, the Garand is very popular, and so is the 1903. But the thing about those is you really have to be an experienced shooter to enjoy shooting them. You know, the 30-06 round is not exactly a 22. These, however, the 30 carbine is very, very easy to shoot. Recoil is negligible in these. Anybody in the family can shoot one. Mom can shoot it, grandma can shoot it, and your little sister can shoot it. Maybe not toddlers, but definitely pretty much everyone. So, you know, when you went out for a picnic on a 4th of July like this and you wanted to bring along a rifle everybody could enjoy shooting, this was it. Problems would arise when people tried to push these beyond their design limitations. If you're going after a moose at 300 yards, this is not the weapon you should use for that, and when it fails, you really shouldn't blame the weapon for that. These were not made for hunting rifles. These were made as a stopgap. These were for guys that needed something less than a full-service rifle, but more than the sidearm. You know, instead of the 1911, you would get one of these, say a non-com or an officer would have this. Someone who wasn't expected to fight all the time, at some point might have to, and definitely was worth having. They were very popular with the GIs because they were light. And I've never yet met a GI who did not like the M1 carbine. You know, I guess if you have to hump a 10-pound weapon around all day long, and someone hands you one of these, which is half the weight, you know, there's a... you'd like it too, I suppose. And close up, you know, 100 yards and under, easily gets the job done. You know, I mean, this will get the job done. You're not going to shoot somebody through an inch of steel or something like that with this, but in many cases, the higher cyclic rate would give you an advantage too. You had 15 rounds in there. The M2s had 30-round magazines, and you just blast away with them. Sooner or later, something will connect. And these, let's see, we have Inland, Underwood, Saginaw, another Underwood, and another Inland. And I just kind of never really went out of my way to collect these back then because I was more interested in the M1 Garands and especially the 1903s, but they just came to me, one here, one there. There was one gentleman that every time he got a little tight for cash, he would just come over with ones there. You want to buy another carbine? All right, whatever. You know, so at that time, we never really thought in terms of, well, one day these are going to be really hard to find and really expensive like they are today. But, you know, there were so many of them around. They were everywhere. You could buy these by the case at that time. I think in the catalogs, they were, 1991, 1992, 3. I'm pretty sure these are like $175 or less, you know, depending on where you got it. And they, like I said, they were everywhere. I remember in all the gun stores, like flea markets and tags, even tag sales, yes. I remember seeing these turn up. And all the accoutrements for them, like the magazines and you know, the bayonets, all dirt cheap. These are all World War II slings on there. Those were a dime a dozen back then. I used to buy some of them, just use them as straps, you know, for other things. They worked very well for that. Yeah, I guess in hindsight, I should have bought a couple cases of them, but I'm glad I got what I did. And I enjoy shooting them. You know, unfortunately these days M1 carbine ammo is not as cheap as it used to be, but it's around and it's a straight wall case. It's very easy to reload. You know, it's as easy as 38 Special, really. It's not that big of a deal to reload them. And I have all the bullets and the powder and all of that stuff for that. But if you ever get an opportunity to grab one of these, I would suggest doing it. Just, you know, beware that there are reproductions out there. Some of them have a reproduction receiver and all the parts are GI, especially some of the earlier ones. So always make sure of the markings on there. The markings on an M1 carbine are right there. Underwood right there. And see if I don't know if it'll focus on that. Right there, U.S. caliber 30, you know, U.S. carbine caliber 30 M1. If it says anything on there like Universal or something like that, it's not the real thing. Now, like I said, there are 9 subcontractors. I'm not going to name them all here. That's easy enough to look up in any of the hundreds of books written about these carbines, like Rockola, Irwin Pedersen, you know, Winchester, of course. Don't forget Winchester, and Saginaw. And who did it? Who did the other one? No, I can't remember all of them. But make sure of what you're buying, because there's plenty of unscrupulous sellers out there, or people who just don't know. They think, oh, it's an M1 carbine. It must be the real thing. Well, not necessarily. So make sure you know what you're getting. And make sure it's got a decent bore on it. Like I said, a steel cleaning rod can tear the heck out of that. So you want to make sure that, you know, take a bullet with you, stick it in, tip in there, make sure it doesn't disappear. You know, it's got some meat left showing. I'll give you a quick and dirty example. If I had a bullet here, I'd show you. But that's the quick and dirty way of seeing if there's anything left of the crown. Because you don't want to have to buy one of these and then have a non-shooter. That's no fun. Hey, with this particular military surplus rifle, half the fun is the shooting part. They really are a lot of fun on the range. If you can afford to keep the ammo flowing, you know, they can eat through a lot of that. And I guess I pretty much covered everything. I covered the paratroop. Yeah, I did. All right then. Have a great 4th of July, and I hope you can find yourself some carbines pretty soon, or enjoy the ones that you have.